He E hoʻomalu kākou. Au hea oe kamakua lani, kamakua mana loa, kamakua ihi, kamakua piha me ke aloha. E ano mākou nā pula o ka mōʻī liliʻuokalani, e ākuakua mai nei māmua u na ka haʻa. Mahalo nui a oe ke akua, no ke e lā kūpainaha a e launa pume mākou, e mālama mai, e hoʻola mai, e hopu mai ka imai a mākou pākahi a pau. No nā mea kākau moʻolelo, nā mea kākiʻi, nā kūpuna, me nā mea kōkua, no ka hāmau leo, e hopu mai ka imai a lākou. Ia mākou e hoʻokuʻu nei ka puke hou o i hoʻi Nānā I Ke Kumu Helu ʻEkolu. E alaka imai a mākou ki ala kūpono. Ke nono I haʻani mākou ia oe ke akua, ke e mau mea, ka inoa kau keiki hiva hiva o Yesu Christo. Hearken unto us, Heavenly Father, you who are most powerful, most sacred, and compassionate. Here we are gathered before you, the descendants of our Queen. Thank you for this wonderful day. Be with us, take care of us. Continue to give us life and breath, and bless us all. For the writers of the stories, the artists, the knowledge of our kūpuna, and the supporters who silently work behind the scene, bless them all. As we prepare to release this new book, Nānā I Ke Kumu, Helu ʻEkolu, lead us in the right direction to follow. All of these that we humbly ask of you, we ask in the name of thy Son, O Yesu Christo. Amen.
Amen. Velina mai kako, mahalo e mun Kauahi for opening us with this beautiful Pule Wehe. For those of you who joined us early, we hope you enjoyed the compositions of our moʻi wahine Liliʻuokalani. My name is Palama Lee from Liliʻuokalani Trust. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the launch of Nānā I Ke Kumu Helu ʻEkolu. As a Liliʻuokalani Trust event, our kamaliʻi or children have joined us today. Therefore, we have Hoʻokuʻu protocol or a code of conduct in place to ensure a safe environment. We ask that all dialogue via chat be respectful. The chat will be monitored throughout the launch and questions will be moderated. Our gathering is being recorded, so if you don't want to be recorded, please disable or hide your video camera. You can also change your viewing name on Zoom. Today's program includes a greeting from the trustees of Liliʻuokalani Trust, offered by a trustee, Judge Patrick Yim. Then the artist of the book, Imaikalani Kalahele, will describe several book images via poetry. A moderated panel discussion will follow with authors Aunty Lynette Paglinawan, Dennis Kauahi, and Kalei Kanuha. There will be a Q&A session, and then the manawahine pair of Gail Makuakāne-Lundin of Hilo, well, she'll be representing Hawaiʻi Papa Okeau, and Maile Meyer of Native Books and Namea Hawaiʻi will share with you where ʻEkolu can be purchased, and also future community-hosted book launches and events. And then what was opened will be closed by Moon Kauahi. This book does not stand alone without the hands and prayers of many people who were involved in its publication. We would like to mahalo Keakoa for the guidance, Kokako moʻi wahine Liliʻuokalani for her legacy, our trustees, Chair Claire Assam, and trustees Thomas Kaulukukui and Patrick Yim for their unwavering support, our executives Bob Ozaki, Don Harflinger, and Nalea Kina for their direction. There are those individuals and organizations who are memorable. Tūtū Mary Kawena Pukuʻi. La'akea Suganuma, her grandson, has joined us today in the audience. Aunty Malia Craver and Uncle Likeke Paglinawan, both who joined their aumakua in Po during the making of ʻEkolu. Our legacy partner, Hui Hanai, our publisher, Barbara Pope Book Design and her fabulous crew of book designers, and Shannon Kuipo Gorospe, who provided tremendous support to our authors. It is my pleasure now to introduce our trustee, Patrick Yim.
O ke akua mana loa o nā lani, nā kini akua, nā aumakua nā kūpuna mai. Nāna I hoʻopuka kala I haʻi, nāna I nā poʻokala I ka mole hua. Imaikalani I ka halawai, mai ka mauna I ka moana. O mākou nā iwi o ka pai aina o Hawaiʻi nei. On behalf of the trustees of the Liliʻuokalani Trust, to all of you within the sound of my voice, aloha nui kākou.
Aloha.
Today, the Liliʻuokalani Trust announces the publication of Nāna I Ke Kumu Helu ʻEkolu. This ʻIke celebrates the fulfillment of a wish and the acceptance of kuleana. Ka mana'o ka i'imi ame makia. The thought, the wish, the purpose. When she agreed to be kumu for this endeavor, Tūtū Kawena sincerely believed and hoped that this body of work would help Hawaiians to understand and appreciate the soundness and the beauty of our culture. Under the leadership of Masaru Oshiro, the then executive director of the Queen Liliʻuokalani Children's Center, Aunty Malia Craver, Richard Likeke Paglinawan, Lynette Paglinawan, Joyce Ma, Joe Rickard, Betty Ann Rocha, Dennis Kauahi, and others joined Tūtū. And together they have gifted this ʻIke Kumu to us with the hope that it will bind us together as a lahui. On a personal note, it was in 1972, some 48 years ago, that as a young judge, I was invited to that Hui Hanai meeting at the conference room at Muolaulani when Chairperson Imaikalani Kalahele announced the publication of Helu ʻEkahi. Helu ʻElua followed shortly thereafter. So today's celebration brings me full circle. The publication of Helu ʻEkolu marks the final volume of this epic trilogy, Nāna I Ke Kumu, a collection of cultural knowledge and wisdom, and a legacy from Tūtū Kawena and other kumu to our people. In receiving this ʻIke Kumu, we accept the kuleana to use it wisely and in a manner for which our kumu intended, that is, to encourage and empower us to live our lives fully in harmony and happiness, so as to give honor and respect to all who have come before us. E ola ka inoa o ke ali'i nui, kamo I aloha nui o Liliʻuokalani. E ola na iwi o ka pai aina o Hawaiʻi. Mahalo, mahalo, mahalo.
Mahalo, Trustee Yim. Kumuhula Alana Ai said, "Aloha is the intelligence in which we greet the world." I agree, and suggest that art and imagery are the intelligences through which we see and experience the world. What sets ʻEkolu apart from her sisters, ʻEkahi and ʻElua, are the images. For the first time, Nāna I Ke Kumu contains artwork. And joining each image is a companion poem, perhaps as a description of the art, perhaps to evoke and activate a deeper memory and meaning. Imaikalani Kalahele is a Native Hawaiian artist, activist, scholar, and practitioner of Hawaiian culture, who lives and works in his mountain studio in Upper Kalihi Valley. As a child, Imai was a beneficiary of the Liliʻuokalani Trust, and it was there and during that time he received his first class and training in art. He worked for Liliʻuokalani Trust for 37 years and retired. Imai today will share a few selected poems and images from Nānā I Ke Kumu, Helu ʻEkolu. Imai?
Aloha.
Aloha.
This first one is called, this first poem is A Gift to the Gods. A gift to the gods is a gift to man. And a gift of man must be a gift to the land. In this poem, I chose to deal with the fact that if man didn't utter the poem, the prayer, then there wouldn't be a prayer. And if man doesn't put his hands in the land, then the land is useless. The next poem. In the shadow of our ancestors, under the ulu tree, there should always be the comfort of a mat and a bowl of poi. Next poem. On the other side. On the other side. In time, there may be mountains to climb and reefs to swim on the other side. Sometimes it is important to see what there is on the other side. The coconut. First thing you see on the beach, the coconut. Shade from its leaves, rope from the husk, the coconut. Water from the shell, meat spoon to roasted, the coconut. Strong, majestic, noble, and common, the coconut. Sorry about that. Sorry, almost missed one. Each generation has its kaumaha to carry, both gifts and burdens, each one like the lauahi, entwined, entangled, regenerations each. On our journey, we all walk in the wake of our ancestors, each one an umeke, some full of gifts, some to be filled, on our journey as we all walk. Sorry about that. Po'o, piko, mai, mohai, mai, piko, po'o. Each time evolving, po'o, piko, mai, mohai. Nānā I Ke Kumu. When looking for the source, Nānā I Ke Kumu. When the spirit needs to know, Nānā I Ke Kumu. I chose to use that last one to reiterate the fact that we need to always Nānā and to look for the source, to be a part of the source, and to recognize the fact that you are a part of the source. So thank you guys for this publication. Thank you guys for listening to me. Mahalo.
Mahalo ia oi, Imaikalani. Wow. I know that everyone who listened to your words, shared your images and viewed them, were just touched as much as I was. Yeah, and I continue to be. So thank you so much. Oh, I need some time to just kind of transition, yeah? We're going to move on to our panel discussion. I think I'm ready. Now I'd like to introduce the authors of ʻEkolu, which will start our discussion. Lynette and Richard Paglinawan were hired in the 1960s by Liliʻuokalani Trust as social workers to help Hawaiian children and their families. Encountering cases involving anai, spells or curses, and moiʻuhane, dreams, they felt ill-prepared to deal with these complex and distinctly Hawaiian problems. Mentored by Mary Kawena Pukuʻi, they learned to differentiate between situations rooted in Hawaiian concepts, which require Hawaiian solutions, and situations that stem from profound historical trauma and may require solutions that are drawn upon from Western social work practices. From Tūtū Pukuʻi, Richard and Lynette learned about Ho'oponopono and the potential for its application to social work, ultimately training to become Haku Ho'oponopono. Dennis Kauahi's career at Liliʻuokalani Trust spanned 40 years in roles including social worker, supervisor, and deputy director. He retired in 2018. A master practitioner of Ho'oponopono, he credits Nā kūpuna Mary Kawena Pukuʻi, Nā hale ʻelua Mahuiki, Malia Craver, and Danny Hanakahi as his mentors. For Dennis, who was born and raised in Waimea, Kauahi, Hawaiian culture and language have been foundational since childhood. This grounding enabled him to provide culturally based social work to a wide variety of families and communities based on mutual respect and trust, and to establish personal and professional connections with Indigenous people worldwide. Valley Kalei Kanuha was born and raised in Hilo, Hawaii. She thanks her grandmother, Becky Niniao Ke Aloha o Nā Lani Elua, Arsi Kanuha, and her mother, Chitosi Araki Kanuha, for their unconditional love. Aunty Malia Craver honored Kalei with her blessings to work on this sacred project, for which Kalei will forever be grateful. Kalei currently serves as Assistant Dean, Office of Field Education, University of Washington, School of Social Work. Let me begin by asking Dennis the first question. Dennis, you ready? Oh, him came quiet. Well, here comes Dennis. Dennis, a project of this magnitude and legacy must have not been an easy task. Can you provide us with the background of Nānā I Ke Kumu Helu ʻEkolu, please?
Yeah, well, where do I start? You know,
you have 50 years, go ahead, or beyond.
Listening to Trustee Yim speak about the past really kind of generated some nostalgic thoughts about how this project started. And rather than I do a kind of a chronological presentation, I wanted to share some of the personal things that Aunty Malia and myself had to go through before we decided that we should be part of this project, because it really wasn't our decision. Before Tūtū Pukuʻi died, she passed away in 1986. And Auntie and I had spent a lot of time with her off and on. And during that time, we talked about what's going to happen with, you know, the ʻIke that was set forth by Tūtū, by Richard, you know, and as well as Lynette, and all of the people that really pulled together Nānā I Ke Kumu 1 and 2. And so we said, let's go and talk with Tūtū Pukuʻi. Now, our kūpuna, you don't ask them directly. You think we can take on this responsibility? That's not how you approach them. So Aunty and I decided we would spend some time with her, and we asked her, why were the names 1 and 2 used for those 2 volumes? We knew why Nānā I Ke Kumu. And in that way, we thought maybe we could get towards where is this going to go. Pukuʻi's answer was very simple. She said, because it might be number 3. It might be ʻEkolu. And she told Aunty Malia and I, think about it and come back and talk to me. So we did. What we knew was that we had to find within ourselves, were we worthy to take on this responsibility? Because the thing that we didn't want to do is sound ho'oyo. Ho'oyo is like, oh yeah, I can do, don't worry, we can't. We were looking for ho'oponopono. We were looking for sanction from her. And when we went back to her, she told us in Hawaiian, because most of our conversations were in Hawaiian, she said, ho'imi ka ʻIke I loko. She told both Aunty Malia and I, look for that wisdom or that answer within yourself. And then she dismissed us, came back again. What it really meant was, what kind of kuleana that we think we can undertake. This was not about us. It was not about writing a book so much as we needed to tell the story from our experiences as well, for our time and space. And I think all of the authors on this project, I know Richard and Lynette, because I think they already knew. They have been in life work. And certainly Kalei, but all of us had to come to terms with, are we worthy for this project? Do we feel that we can contribute rather than, yeah, I can. So as our discussions with Tūtū Pukuʻi continued, she never really came out and said, yeah, you guys can do it. But in the discussions, we felt the support from her. That started at least getting the ball rolling within the organization as she and I were working for the trust. And that's kind of like the beginning, I think, of at least working with our agency, because this book couldn't be written without the confines and without the organization. We were pretty sure about that. And that's why I want to thank, Pat, all of our trustees, the directors, Claire, Charlie, Ben Henderson, all of our staff that really, really helped us move this, because it was a long-term project. This was 20 years ago now when Aunty and I were talking. Finally decided, and Tūtū had passed, I think, about 4 years. So what we did was, definitely we have to get a hold of Richard and share with him what we were talking. And Richard was kind of like, I think, a few steps ahead of us. He already knew. And he also knew, and he told me, Dennis, we got to do it through LT. So you got to take the kuleana of working with the administration and working with trustees. And I said, that's not a problem, but we need you on the committee for us to go. And Richard and Lynette, they're a duo. You get Richard, you get Lynette. Whether she was there or not, we know we would get her input in that. So thus the committee started, and this was about 2000, 2001 maybe. The first thing we established was, there are 2 things. The first was the tapes. The 600 plus tapes that were used and recorded over the span of 1962 to, I think, 1978. They were used to, as of data to publish Nānā I Ke Kumu 1 and 2. We needed to review those tapes. We needed to glean from that. Are there still cultural concepts that were not used in the book? The challenge for that was the tapes were 35 years old, and they were degrading at an alarming rate to mold. So with the help of, and our agency, they didn't have, we had some struggles. They didn't have the funds at the time, but with the help of OHA, Nānā I Ke Kumu, we were given the resources and to be managed by Hui Hanai, with their help, to find someone that could save those tapes. And we were able to find someone, one of the experts. His name was Dunbar Wakayama. What a name. But what a genius. Because he saved almost every tape except 2, I think. And incredibly, he was able to record it and digitize it. And that we have it today, the agency have it. So Richard was assigned to go through all of the tapes, which he did. There weren't no surprises, but what they were was really expanded knowledge on the concepts that we knew about, that really brought meaning again to us. The second thing was we needed to get current data on case situations. And so Richard, and again with Lynette, were hired as our cultural consultants to provide cultural consultation to our social workers. We used part of that as the data for I think about 3 years. Thirdly, the data came from the committee. We were elders, we were older. We were able to share our stories. And we lost Aunty Malia in 2009. And Richard Hala in 2015. But their knowledge, their contribution, we've captured. It's within this book. And indeed, they're the authors as well, as far as I'm concerned. So that kind of takes us up to when we actually begin doing the publication of writing. And Kalei was brought on to the committee to Aunty Malia, and she just contributed so much to it. It was just natural for Lynette to come and help with this effort after Richard passed. So that's kind of like the history of this committee. The others can talk about exactly what we made, but I tell you, it was a long journey. It was a journey that I feel so blessed to be a part of. Started with the organization when I was a green social worker out of grad school, and really was amazed at bringing together Hawaiian healing practices with Western healing practices, and that's the same thing we try to do today. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of what, from my perspective, what the history of this committee, and I'm just again so grateful for our trustees, our administration, and most of all our Hawaiian families, those that shared these stories, and the stories of resiliency, the stories of the culture we found, is not dead, it's alive. It is very much alive within our families and within our Lahui today. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Dennis. Mahalo for giving us such a rich description of the background of ʻEkolu. And also, yeah, culture is alive. Yeah, culture is alive and thriving, Hawaiian culture today. So mahalo. I'll go to Aunty Lynette next. Yeah. Hui, Aunty, aloha mai. Aunty, ʻEkolu covers many key areas: guiding values and principles, historical trauma, kaumaha, and ho'oponopono. Can you describe why these areas were selected for ʻEkolu?
The way we wanted to evolve was to make it usable, not to just have words and ideas between 2 book covers and then put on the shelf. And over the years, from the time we experienced reconnecting with the culture with Tūtū in the 60s, the journey and the kuleana that Richard and I accepted from her as her students was to ensure that it was used for the benefit of children and families. La Hui. It was always her dream that it get back to the families, whether provided by others who learned about the culture and helped them directly, or if they could learn it themselves and begin using it themselves in a living way with the kamali'i, with the makua and kūpuna. Because our families live with 3 generations, not unusual. And during that time, Ho'oponopono was viewed as a word outside. And some of the cases Richard and I worked with demonstrated the knowledge of Ho'oponopono could be transferred by learning it in doing it. And so, because this was an effort provided by the Queen Liliʻuokalani Children's Center and later known as Liliʻuokalani Trust, services were directed to orphan, half-orphan Hawaiian children with their families. And so with that in mind, loss, separation, kaumaha was a key part that needed to be included. But we also recognize very clearly the ohana of yesteryear knew more about these Hawaiian concepts and ideas than the modern family of that time. And so there was a need to focus on the effects of cultural trauma in order for our families of today to understand why we may have to take some extra steps in helping them to revive the aloha and the harmony and untangle the pilikia. But we were also reminded that in the intervening years, there were new social workers coming on board to Liliʻuokalani Trust who did not have the privilege of those culture committee meetings where we learned by presenting cases and had the source with us, Mary Kawena Pukuʻi. And so we realized that we had to look at ways to influence those who were uninformed yet empowered to provide services to children, to understand what are some of the guidelines What are the values that are required? Why, from different worldviews, it was important that those who were going to provide service be empowered to appreciate at a deep level the wisdom of the ancestors. So this was the kind of discussion that took place as the committee members began to evolve. What are we going to write about? And it made sense, because what's good for our families is good for others as well. Yeah.
Mahalo, Auntie. Yes, mahalo nui. I'll go to Kalei. Aloha, Kalei.
Aloha, aloha.
Kalei, Ekahi and Elua, volumes 1 and 2 were developed and published in the late 1960s, early 70s, over half a century ago. So much has occurred since then. What are the benefits and perhaps the challenges of publishing a book on Hawaiian cultural healing practices today than they were, let's say, 50 years ago?
Well, first of all, I just want to so appreciate this space and this time for us to share. And I was kind of too nervous to just speak spontaneously. I just been like stomach ache the last few days, just getting ready for this. And so I want to share some prepared comments because I feel like it just captures my heart and my spirit that as I thought about this time we're going to have together. So I will just read some comments that I'd like to share with all of you. So aloha kako, aloha ke akua, aloha nau makua, aloha nā kūpuna, e me titu beki niniau o ke aloha, una wa'aholo ʻEkolu. My mommy, Chitosi Araki Kanuha, and my daddy, William Keaweopala Kanuha, and my ohana, especially Katayuni Isari and Anela Roshan Isari Kanuha. My deepest mahalo I want to express to Uncle Charlie Nakoa and Ben Henderson, and of course to Uncle Richard Paglinawan, who held the vision of this project always close at heart for nearly 20 years, and to our queen and to the many staff and beneficiaries of the Liliʻuokalani Trust for seeing it to fruition. And always first in my spirit, each and every day, I bless Aunty Malia Craver for reminding us with her presence and her essence that Nānā I Ke Kumu Helu ʻEkolu was destined for our people. And we are here today, and I am here today due to her grace and her love. Mahalo, I love you, Auntie. So dear Palama has asked me to share a few thoughts about the importance of Nānā I Ke Kumu Helu ʻEkolu. 5 decades, 50 years since the first 2 volumes were given to our community. And for me, and I think for many of us, in many ways, the events of the past 9 months, all of 2020 to date have brought our world and community to a point of deep contention, but also deep reflection. We are faced with the worst set of circumstances most of us have seen in our lifetimes. It is indeed a pandemic, not only of COVID-19, but of environmental collapse with fires, hurricanes, earthquakes, oil spills, poisoned water, and melting ice caps. It's a time of a call to reckoning about the ways we treat our minority racial, ethnic, class, sexual, gender, and other communities. And it's a time of social, political, and ideological challenges, and some might say failures, in the moral and spiritual leadership of our governments, economies, religious institutions, and even of our families and our neighborhoods. So to me, given what we're living with today, even in this moment on this Zoom, where we must meet via electronic means, where we as Hawaiians cannot touch, honi, hold, and connect, he aloha, he alo. Is there a better time for Nānā I Ke Kumu Helu ʻEkolu, to spring forward. I believe that this came to fruition now because we need it so desperately, all of us in all of our communities. Is there a moment in our lives when we ever needed this guidance and wisdom of our kūpuna, those known and unknown, seen and unseen? And I believe we are here at this moment because we really need ʻEkolu, probably more than we know. So when we first started this project 20 years ago, as Dennis was recounting, Aunty Malia always said we had to carry forward the work of Tūtū Pukuʻi, and that there were still lessons and teaching to pass on to our moʻopuna, to preserve our culture and traditions before they were lost to the embodied archives of our beloved kupuna. And Aunty intoned the same message that Tūtū Pukuʻi noted in the first volumes of Nānā I Ke Kumu, which is that Hawaiians then and now suffer from historical trauma, from the losses of our people, our traditions, our access to pristine places, and our spiritual core. So Nānā I Ke Kumu was first envisioned as a chronicle of conversations between Dr. Hardig and Tūtū Pukuʻi that could be shared with all Hawaiians, but particularly those who are dedicated to caring for, bringing knowledge to, and healing our deep wounds. And those first volumes, as with the launch today of volume 3, are also filled with the joy and resiliency of our stories and practices, which many of us never learned, and for others, a remembrance of times long ago abandoned. And that is why I think of these precious books as a collection of memories that are intended for us to use, as Aunty said, every day, to call us back to all things we value, we love, and we know in our na'au, and to celebrate who we are as Hawaiians each and every day. I also view all 3 volumes as spiritual texts for myself, because they provide knowledge and ways of knowing for Hawaiians as Hawaiians. And for those who love Hawaii and respect us as the first people of this sacred place, we welcome you to learn who we were and whom we still are as we sustain and grow our health and well-being in this challenging new world. And so the reason I think it took 20 years for us to bring this just beautiful project to fruition is because we need it now. And the challenge was, I think, for many of us working on it, and for all of you in community who have been waiting all this time, it came forward because it was supposed to, I believe, now. And in some ways, it's really not that different from 1 and 2, because it's about who we are as a people. And it is for us to hold up who we are as a people, and to hold up the things that are beautiful about our practices, our ways of life, and the things that we hold so deeply dear to our identities. And for me, I think the gift of being able to work on this project is to have been able to learn the things that I missed learning all the years of my growing up, and to be able to be close to Aunty Malia and Dennis, Uncle Richard. Really all the staff and all the families who shared their stories with us to bring this project to where we are today. I thank each and every one of you. And I thank all of our ancestors and our kupuna who guided us to bring this project to where it is today. So I mahalo all of you, all of those who have come before us on this really just wonderful, wonderful day. And I send good wishes from my ancestors to all of yours. And I mahalo you all. Aloha.
Mahalo, mahalo kalei. Yeah, like Aunty is doing pa'ipaia. Well, we're getting a lot of, on the comments, a lot of aloha, a lot of love and mahalos to our panelists that is coming through. So I wanted to make sure I shared that with you all. I have a question I do want to ask our panelists. Anyone just jump in and ask, One of the things that I noticed near the beginning of the book is you describe how best to use the cultural ʻIke or the knowledge of the book. It was kind of like a soft kapu, yeah, that was placed in the beginning. And so that perked up my ears. Can you explain how best to use this knowledge and why it was important for you as authors and practitioners to emphasize this?
When we had our initial meetings, there was attention about the possibility of this knowledge with the expansion and the popularity of electronics, that what we hold dear and precious to ourselves, that's done in an honorable way of observing the sacredness and kapu of our ancestors, that by putting it down in a more detailed way, we run the risk of it being misused. It's in the book. It's on the shelf. It can be picked up. And also, you go online and you go Google and you type in Ho'oponopono, and whoa, a lot of information comes up that doesn't sound like what we have been exposed to. So, as a practitioner who trained under Mary Kawena Pukuʻi, when I entered into that relationship to receive this knowledge, I accepted that kuleana, that I would do it in the way it was intended by our ancestors. So I had the privilege, but I had responsibilities for honoring that gift. And so I had concerns not having control of who could put their hands on this resource. The great possibility is going to be interpreted and utilized from their worldview, from their own interpretation. And I was very uncomfortable with that. And I voiced it to the committee. We had that opened the box for all of us to recognize we had those concerns. And since we have no control of other people and how they might use that, Sally was good. She said, we stated right in the book in the beginning. That made sense. So that's what I recall. Yeah. It was to preserve the integrity of ʻIke kūpuna. Because those of us who have received that gift and the training, we are the keepers of maintaining that integrity. So I'm glad you picked it up right away. You know, the book says that for Ho'oponopono in particular, it's that whole system of concepts that makes Ho'oponopono so valuable. But if you use one or two aspects, don't call it Ho'oponopono. But that's what's been happening. And so Google, you helped us reaffirm our kuleana to put it out there. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Auntie. Dennis and Kalei, did you want to share anything about the question in response to the question?
Thank you, Lynette, for reminding us of that rich discussion that we had about a concern that the information would be taken and used in a different way. And as I recall too, this book is not a manual for people to use to practice Ho'oponopono. It's really to give the in-depth cultural values and how we see it. And if anything, we would hope that people who want to go further would seek kūpuna to learn more about it. Because our traditions are alo ike alo, uhani ika uhani. It's face to face. It cannot be learned only from the book. The book maybe should enlighten people, but we knew we also had to get it out as the impact that 1 and 2 did on others to seek in us. So yeah, Lynette, it was a really great discussion we had on that. But and what Kalei said, put it up front, but the information got to get out, and you got to get out, and we got to give it a context the best way we could. And I hope it does show in there. But thank you, Lynette.
So the thing I would add is I remember an early conversation. I think, Dennis, it was you and me and Aunty Malia, but we had an early conversation about this too, about actually, should there be a volume 3, because we were so worried about the appropriation and the misuse of our culture. And I think the thing that was so moving to me is that one of the things about Hawaiians, I think, is our generosity. And, as we know, there are many cultural practitioners, not only Hawaiians, but across the globe, who basically will not share anything of their culture, especially sacred practices, because they're meant to be kept sacred, which means to be kept within a particular set of boundaries, and only for some to be able to know and to practice them. And one of the things I really appreciated about our conversation was the trade-off is, do we share? And in a way, sharing is preserving. Holding back is not preserving. Sharing out is preserving, because our people can practice these things, and that will help the practices to go on to the generations to come. But this is really about our people and our kūpuna and our kumu, which is we share so our people can use these practices to be well. And so the point of this volume is really, it's for us, it's for the people. It's not for university professors or people like that. This is for the people to use. So we hope people will pick up this book and go read it with your family at home, and go practice things with your own family, Hawaiians, because this is for you. This is for you.
Mahalo, everyone. We have a question very closely related to that came in. And so it says, where are the Hawaiians who can help me and my ohana do Ho'oponopono? I went to Google and get choke crazy people. How do I know they authentic?
I'm going to start really fast. If they're on Google, they're not authentic. Okay, bye.
I like that, Kalei.
I guess at the center of this is how does one go about accessing if they're really looking for a Hawaiian solution and a Hawaiian practitioner to help them understand and to assess whether this is a Hawaiian issue. Yeah. How do Hawaiian families go about and others go about doing this?
Palama, can you repeat the question? I was kind of soft.
Sure. It says, where are the Hawaiians who can help me and my ohana do ho'oponopono? I went to Google and get choke crazy people. How do I know they authentic?
I don't have an answer, but I wanted to share something about what's out in our Hawaiian community. As Lynette knows, we were just involved in a 3-year program sponsored by Ahakane to teach Ho'oponopono in various Hawaiian communities. And it began over 3 years ago and in selected Hawaiian communities throughout the state. Kauahi was one which I volunteered to teach because I'm from there. And Oahu, Molokai, Maui, and Big Island. And the interest was so high for learning Ho'oponopono. We also found that there was a lot of natural healers within those communities. Some knew Ho'oponopono, some didn't, but within the community, there were people that could help others. We brought in our style of Ho'oponopono, and maybe a little different from what those communities were used to do, but that's okay, they wanted to learn. So it's kind of like an answer to that question, you have to go out and seek in the community you're in. Who are the natural healers? People won't advertise themselves, but if you talk to people, you'll find out there's certain people that can help. You know, aside from those that hang out the shingle and say they know Ho'oponopono, or they know healing, or la'au lapa'au. But what I found is that there is an incredible amount of healers in our community, Hawaiian healers, who have kept, you know, their knowledge and are practicing it. So in a way, you got to be maha'oi. You got to go out and ask. You know, you're not going to find them on Google, like Kalei said. But if you speak to the right people, certain names will emerge within your community. The kahus, you know, in our community, they know who the healers are. You know, so that's kind of like my answer to that. And in teaching Ho'oponopono, I found where most of my students had learned from others, which was good. And they brought that perspective in. And those other kumu that they learned from, some have passed, some are still alive. And they have a special way of healing. So we know our way is not the only way, but the way that we learn is a very embracing way. It embraces other ways. So I think it's out there. That's the only kind of an answer I can give. And part of the process of asking for help is you got to seek. You got to go that extra mile to find it.
Mahalo, Dennis. Auntie?
I teach at University of Hawaii, West Oahu. And remembering Tūtū's charge to see that our families are able to make use of it. And so my opportunity to do something about that opened when I went to work at West Oahu. And the idea of promoting indigenous Hawaiian health and healing practices emerged out of a discussion of colleagues from that university. The challenge was that the modern family of today cannot just immediately know about it. And so I had to put on my thinking hat. How did our kamali'i learn how to do ho'oponopono so that when they got into adulthood and became makua and kūpuna, they could then be the leaders. They could be the haku. And if our modern families are not aware of ho'oponopono, neither do they have the kūpuna to teach them. How do we empower our families today? And as I gave thought to that, I had to put my mind in a Western framework to figure out we have individuals coming into the academic system. And they have to prepare themselves. They have to learn about what is about. And the kamali'i of yesteryear, by sitting down in these sessions with the family as they actually do it live, they get educated. It's on-the-job training for them. And they see how kūpuna verbalized to family. No bullshit with me. You better tell me the truth. So they pick up one of the required elements to prepare yourself is to know no lying. You tell the truth. And you don't fool around. But they also saw Pule. And when they call Akua and the Aumakua or Tūtū, be present with us as we do this Ho'oponopono. You are held accountable for the words that come out of your mouth because your elders have been invited. So the Pule reinforces it, and that's how they learn, by observing and watching. And so I said to myself, I cannot replicate because the students that come as individuals, not families. But you know, at West Oahu, we have an opportunity to engage with community. So I have one of the classes, several of them, that's open to the community, no charge. And you know, in one semester, I had a family come, 4 generations. And they were going to learn about Ho'oponopono. Kupuna Wahine, she came. And over the semester, I listened and I allowed the students to share perspectives. And it occurred to me, I said, you want to say something? Go ahead. And then she talked to the other younger ones that knew nothing about it. In my mind, I said, I think she knows. And as we went through the whole semester at the end of the course, I asked her, the whole semester, you demonstrated and you olelo tells me you do ho'oponopono. So what did you get out of this semester? And her answer was the sheet of paper that listed what I perceived to be 16 concepts that they would learn about in the class, with each name being explicit. And she says, Auntie, you right. I do ho'oponopono with my family. But what I got is, I didn't know I was doing all these 16 terms. Now I have the name to it. And hallelujah, that's the purpose of Nānā I Ke Kumu Volume 3. Not so that we change people, but we validate the importance and the worth of perhaps what they know already. And she also demonstrated as the head of her family, there is a healer in Ho'oponopono, using it in a living way, which is our goal at West Oahu for those that go through the career path in Indigenous Hawaiian health and healing. So mahalo, that's what's happened at West Oahu.
Mahalo, Auntie. Mahalo. We have a lot of comments. I'll just read a few, and then we also have a lot of questions. Very inspiring, Auntie Lynette. Amazing, awesome is another one. There is one that says, no questions, just the response. The depth of the love and concerns of the authors brings me to tears. How precious is this? Mahalo nui for allowing us to see and hear the wisdom. I'm going to toss all your way a question in no particular order, perhaps as they came through. Aloha, will there be training offered when possible that accompanies Volume 3? Mahalo for your wisdom, years of work and sharing.
Training, teaching, that's what I do. So yes, at West Oahu, we have a series of courses that begin with knowing yourself. If you're going to want to help people be pono, you have to learn how to be pono yourself. And so we have courses that focus on having people understand the impact of cultural trauma and this disengagement with a Hawaiian essence, so that they become aware, you know, our people did buy into what was told to us. And that created this disconnection. So the training at West Oahu this semester is on Nohona, Hawaii. on as one course. The other course is on Ho'oponopono level 1, learning how to be pono. We have a course that focuses on becoming acquainted with 3 healing modalities, Ho'oponopono, La'aulapa'au, and Lomi Lomi. And the 3 of us teachers, the 3 kumu, when we first got together and we talk about setting the foundation, which is spiritual, we found that that theme went through each of the healing methodologies. The term oia i'o, being authentic and true to the essence of it, was another theme that ran through it. And so this allows the students who register from high school to kūpuna to make a decision if this is a pathway they want. So the ones that are in place now, the capstone for us at West Ohana and Oahu next semester is on Kaumaha. I will be doing the semester course on Kaumaha. And mahalo nui ke akua. The books are in time.
Hi. Mahalo, Auntie. Since you brought up Kaumaha, here's a question. I read in the book, so a very an eager person who got the book early, about grieving in place. Wow, I thought it was incredible. Can you talk more about this, please? Kalama, Auntie, can I hear you?
I would like to invite Val to speak to this question because she coined that phrase.
Mahalo, Auntie. You know, I don't exactly know when this came to us, but I think as we thought about this volume, and this goes back to your earlier question, you know, Palama, about how things are different now than it was 50 years ago with the other 2 volumes. And, you know, again, when we talked about some of these same concepts that are in the previous volumes around Kamaha, Ho'oponopono, what we said is, what do we want to say that's different than it was before? And again, for those of you who are familiar with the first 2 volumes, you know, a lot of the issues around grief and loss, Kamaha was really, they were really about the permanent loss, like some, you know, a child dying or a parent dying, and then all of the rituals and practices around that. And so as we were meeting with each other and also meeting with some, you know, with the staff of the Children's Center and their families, what we know that's a little bit different now is that there is a loss of family members and their ties to each other that is not necessarily through death. It's through serving in the military. It's through drugs. It's through incarceration. And so these family members and friends and neighbors have not, they're not make so that they cannot be in our presence in this bodily form. They're just gone away. And that the grief of having somebody who's actually alive in this body, in this cosmos, but that we cannot connect with them, we cannot be with them, is a little bit different than the teachings of the previous volumes. And so what we said, we want to try to figure out how to say that you can grieve and you have deep grief and deep pain, with somebody who hasn't died, but they have disconnected from you, or you from them. We talked about domestic violence. We talked about all of these situations in contemporary society that separate us, disconnect us in a deep and sometimes many year period, and sometimes forever, but the person hasn't died except maybe in our connection. And so we said, what do you do? Are you grieving about somebody who's passed, or you're grieving in place as if the person is still with you, but they aren't? And so that's how we kind of came up with this idea of like, you're grieving in the same place that you are, in the same relationship that you are in, but the person is not accessible to you in the same way that they were, and they also have not passed on into a different realm. And it makes the grieving process kind of different. And so that's where we came up with this phrase of grieving in place, that you stay where you are in that relationship, but you cannot connect. And so that I think that's the origin of that. I kind of can't exactly remember all of it, but mahalo, Auntie, for that. And Dennis, I'm sure you remember it maybe a little bit better than I do too.
I think that the grieving place discussion that we had was actually kind of profound, because a lot of our families are facing that, to divorce, and in some ways it's even more difficult to deal with the loss than it is from death, the finality of death. And the loss brings up a lot of interesting feelings that impact on how you relate to others. A lot of times there's anger, depression, and we found that we can use the same principles of Ho'oponopono to help the person and the family to work through it. You know, in the concept of okay, where the relationships are cut, the parental rights are terminated, but the connection for our children are still there. You know, that's grieving in place, and that's a real issue for our families today. And as we talked about it in the committee, we can help people deal with it using our Hawaiian cultural values, and focusing on the individual, particularly children, and how they're dealing with it. So that was one issue I know, Kalei and Lynette, that we said we needed to put on the table, because it was probably more prevalent in our time than it was 50 years ago, or whether it wasn't recognized or not, but it was certainly recognized in our time as we did this book.
Thank you. Auntie, did you want to share anything, or?
Dennis mentioned earlier a project taken on by Aha Kane. And with each of the kumu on that project, part of what they were reminded of is the high levels of incidents in the justice system, because that population is increasing. And the question raised was, might Ho'oponopono be a viable approach in working with the incarcerated to prepare them for reunification? And that training reached out, I think, nearly 20 students for each trainer. And in learning about Ho'oponopono, each of these classes went through that process of self-examination. becoming acquainted with the Hawaiian beliefs and the practices and the rituals. Learning about the untangling of hewa, of difficulties, of mistakes. Because those who are incarcerated, often when released, still carry with them that hewa, the knots. And so this was an opportunity to add to the training the knowledge of those that have separated but are still alive, to always look for every child having a family of its own. Is it possible? So we have many more beginning practitioners who recognize the relationships between makua and keiki, mo'opuna with kūpuna. It is important that the practitioner be aware of how Ho'oponopono can be utilized to get the parties involved, to be ready to engage in Ho'oponopono. Because Tūtū says, all connected to the problem must commit to being oia'i'o, to be authentic, to be true, to tell the truth, the absolute truth, and to be sincere and humble, because it requires recognition of what you have done to create pain and hurt and dismantling aloha in the family. It requires self-scrutiny to be able to do this at a deep, genuine level. So, as Dennis mentioned, Ho'oponopono is viable for those who grieve in place. And with the efforts of Ahakani, there are more practitioners who are beyond the beginning stage and are really learning it. And I'm glad to say, I've heard feedback from some of my haumana who are the teachers. It's working. They have learned it. They know how to do that. So I just wanted to add a little bit more, that with recognizing the numbers have increased with the justice system, we have had Hawaiian groups recognizing that need and putting forth programs to meet the demand for Ho'oponopono. Thank you.
Mahalo, Auntie. We actually certainly have. Oh, go ahead, Dennis and Kalei.
Yeah, I wanted to add one more thing too. Go. So the other thing I meant to say as a coda to both what Auntie just said and also Dennis, is that the other difference between the volumes 1 and 2, and then how we decided to talk about grieving, and then Ho'oponopono as a healing process of grieving, is that, you know, when someone dies, there's a lot of attention on those who are left behind. But with grieving in place, those who are oki from us, they're grieving too. So that's the difference, is that these practices that we talk about in this volume are also for all of us who have been disconnected. So those who are incarcerated, those who are in the military and so far away from their families, those of us who are ill with COVID and we're in the hospital and we're away from our families. So it's not only grieving for those who are left behind, but grieving that those who have left also are grieving too. And so hopefully this volume will give them some tools and some practices and some aloha that they can, as Auntie said, when the time comes for there to be a reconnection, that both parties have done some work for themselves, so that they can come back together in a place of aloha and of healing.
Dennis, did you want to share something?
No, I just agree and thank Kalei for her comments. It really brought another perspective. Thank you.
So we do have a lot of questions about Ho'oponopono, and I'll get to that. I'll read a few comments though before we get to the questions. Look, La'akea Sugunuma I had to call you up because this is a personal mo'olelo. La'akea says, I don't have a question. I just wanted to say I've been thinking about those many years ago when Grandma told me about how she was invited to meetings of the cultural committee and how she expected to do so for a few weeks, maybe a month at most. Well, according to those files that kept the weekly meetings, Tūtū Pukuʻi was there for years in those meetings. So yeah, how funny. Thank you for sharing that, La'akea. We also have another mo'olelo, so I'll share it. And I believe, Auntie, she's talking about the coda, yeah? And at the end of the book, your very personal mo'olelo about the last time you knew when you had a dream that was the last time you'd see Uncle Likeke after he passed. She says in this comment, in Helu ʻEkolu, Auntie Lynette shares a very personal mo'olelo in the chapter Moi Uhane. It was healing just to read it, as I had a very similar dream when I became a young widow. I've suppressed it. I've suppressed this for years because society today sees things of dreams and na'au navigation differently. This mo'olelo helps to heal me and confirms that, quote, being sensitive to feelings, mine and others, and those of others, end quote, is a gift. Thank you for sharing such a personal part of you. I'll go over to the questions related to Ho'oponopono. One of the questions asks, have each of you developed certain makua or younger kūpuna who will step into your places to do what you have done? Is there a new generation of younger cultural leaders who will take your place?
You know, when I think back over the years of being trained by Tūtū and accepting that kuleana, for many years, Richard and I just viewed ourselves as helpers, helping people, providing a service. But after 25 years of practicing, we suddenly realize who's going to take over? Who's going to pick up the torch? Yeah. And And so he and I embarked on training of Haku Ho'oponopono practitioners. And over the years, we were very clear, this training is not like going through the university. You take so many courses and you put so many years in, then you get your diploma and you get the credentials to do it. What we realized is the training of Haku Ho'oponopono cannot be done that way. So our training did not go by cohorts. You received our training, and once you could demonstrate to our standard of expectation that if you carry the title of Haku Ho'oponopono from us, someone comes, we expect you to deliver. So say perhaps 1 year we try, none of them passed. They gotta go training again some more, refining what we, the Kumu, identify to have been lacking. And we do that yearly, so that the first group, Likeke and I, when Uniki, several of them were in for 3 or more years. Others that had come in, but had natural skills, finished. The first group that we bestowed Haku Ho'oponopono on were 6 individuals. Not the whole class passed. He and I had them demonstrate, and they had to demonstrate being able to do it in a fluid manner. So you begin, you show you have the knowledge and authority to conduct Ho'oponopono from beginning to end without having Richard and I interrupt what you're doing. So I would say within the last 15 years, we have been able to uniki. My daughter is sitting next to me. I gotta check myself, my memory out with her. Is it 15?
15.
We have designated the title of Haku Ho'oponopono on 15 of our haumana. We have trained over hundreds. And we let our students know, if you don't pass us and our standards, you cannot call yourself a Haku Ho'oponopono. And the students learn at what level of the continuum of training where they're at. And so Richard and I have always felt pono in following through on Tūtū Pukuʻi's legacy. For we train in this process of Ho'oponopono and Hawaiian beliefs and practices and mental healing, her legacy passed down to us. I can only speak for my school, but I know that the 15 that we were in Puka, they're accepted the title of Haku Ho'oponopono from me and Richard. I know they can deliver. So that's 15. And we have submitted the names to Papa'olalokahi so that they have on record a list, because there's a great need in the community to have this kind of help. It would be up to the different kumu who do training. They make their decision about their students. Yeah.
Mahalo, Auntie.
At West Oahu, they're only being acknowledged for having taken the classes. If I was to designate one as a Haku Ho'oponopono, it would be to Kūpuna Keli'i, who was already doing Ho'oponopono, but now she knows all the steps that she was doing, and it was so natural. So the kids tell her, ask her, her daughters, what is that? Never mind, you just do it and you follow the way I do it. So there were instances where people come with this knowledge from the community. I'm not a trainer that's going to change them into my style. I give them additional tools that they can use and recognize their kumu that they learned from. Back in the 80s, Alulike asked Likeke and I to do training with kūpuna from the Big Island. Halfway through the training, he and I said, they know more than us, we're the young brats. So towards the end of training, we said to them, you should be up here teaching because you know it already. And you know what they said to us? We needed this experience to have someone else validate the worthiness of what we learned from our kūpuna. Auntie Abby, Napeahi, yeah. Mama Kahele from Kona, Akim Siu, Ahuna. Those are some of the names that I can recall. Pe'a from Hilo, yes.
Uncle Howard. Oh, Kalamai Auntie, can I hear you? Auntie, you had something else to say? No. You know, I was reminded by La'akea that actually I cut his mo'olelo short. So I want to go back and read the other, continue to finish off reading his comment. He continues to say, well, he continues, and he says, I'm happy to see that the knowledge given with Aloha is still being passed on by those who were the recipients of that Aloha. The wisdom and values of our ancestors are always applicable to those who choose to embrace them. Mahalo nui a ʻoko, mahalo nui grandma, La'akea. Mahalo La'akea. You know, we have, and I want to thank the authors and the audience, because the authors are provoking so many questions. And I want to thank the audience and apologize that we won't be able to get through all the questions. So I'll try to ask them as we're related to a certain topic. There is another question related to Ho'oponopono. The question is, if a family does not share a common religious or spiritual belief, can Ho'oponopono be used? And if so, what adjustments are to be made for the family group? Can Ho'oponopono be applied outside of the family context, such as nonprofit organizations or international conflicts? If not, why not? If so, what adjustments would probably need to be made to help resolve conflicts? Any of you want to take parts of that question? All of it? None of it? So let's say if a family doesn't share the same spiritual belief, can Ho'oponopono still be used?
The part about spiritual belief, in Ho'oponopono, there are many ways of relating and connecting with a power that's greater than yourself. We are so lucky in this modern times to be and to believe in different religions. Not all Hawaiians believe in the same akua. And so in Nānā I Ke Kumu, Volume 1, there are some references to the recognition that individuals may relate to a higher power that controls life and death. For example, you're in the hospital, the doctor says, we've done all that we can. There's nothing else we can do. What is the response of the family? They're encouraged to go out and do what they feel is necessary. So an example like that points out the name of that higher power may not be the same as the names of the Haku Ho'oponopono. But if they believed in a higher power, in the spirits, if they believe in grandpa, and that grandpa can help, family members usually have a common base in a higher power. And in social work, it is the purpose and the function that underlies the spiritualism that is universally connected. Power over life and death. And we have learned that in the Hawaiian population, we have many beliefs. And because it is not exclusive, as social workers, Bridget and I promote the notion of the higher power that has control over life and death, known by many names. This is what we work with. So it allows us to not limit ourselves to just Akua, the four gods, Aumakua of different clans, but it allows us to go beyond our shores and do Ho'oponopono with other groups of people of ethnic backgrounds. Richard and I have found being solid in our own spiritualism and recognizing the diverse ways in which people turn to that higher power. We opened the way for them to reconnect to their higher power, to be involved in the Ho'oponopono process. And we also believe that Ho'oponopono is a
Auntie, we lost your audio at the end. We believe that Ho'oponopono.
You believe that Ho'oponopono is a what? You believe Ho'oponopono is a spiritual therapeutic process.
Yes, I do.
They didn't hear that.
Oh, I believe that Ho'oponopono is a spiritual based practice. So leaving out spiritualism, already you cannot call it Ho'oponopono.
Thank you, Auntie. Dennis, did you have a na'o or? Oh, also, can I hear you, Dennis?
How much more time we have?
We have about 3 minutes.
Oh. I have kind of like a long story, but let me just support what Lynette said, that in Ho'oponopono, spiritualism, spirit is fundamental, not religious dogma or religious doctrine, but there's a higher power amongst all of us that we are accountable to. I gotta share this story, and this is about Aunty Malia. When she was asked to speak at the United Nations NGO conference, and she asked me to accompany her as her koa, as her protector. Well, in the course of I was helping her with her speech, and while we were at Mu'ulaulani, she got a call, and I answered the call, and this was from the United Nations and the person that was responsible for the panel that she was going to be on. There were 3 members of the panel. Ralph Nader was one, the president of Algeria, and Aunty Malia. The person called and told her, whatever you do, do not mention Jesus Christ in your speech. She said, we will be amongst many Muslim nations, and we're asking you not to. And Auntie looked at me and she told me, hang up on that. I told her, well, we'll take it into consideration. Hung up. We were talking about spiritualism. Spiritualism. Her whole speech was about aloha, the fundamental values of family. Her speech was about honoring your kūpuna and what they have given us in any of our families. And she said, I'm going to mention Jesus Christ because he is my God. And I said, Auntie, it's like you give them the context though. You're not preaching to them about religious doctrine. You're letting them know how Jesus has entered your life, but the whole issue of spiritualism. Well, anyway, we went over there. She had a retinue of people. We all went over, and I had to sit next to her during the presentation, her presentation. Most people had their translators on, And I was watching her speak, and like her mana and her aura of aloha came out. I have a copy of the speech. It's a very beautiful speech. She ended up with a standing ovation from many nations. And after we had the gathering after the speech, a lot of the leaders told her, you touched a chord in our hearts because you talked about family, you talked about aloha, and you talked about our elders because you're here. So the whole idea of being connected spiritually, the whole idea of honoring your elders and using that, she didn't talk so much about Ho'oponopono, but that sets the stage. So we cannot avoid that in Ho'oponopono. It's how you deliver it. It's like how you deliver, something to people that they may think is unpalatable, but they gotta listen to it. And the spiritualism connects us, all of us. And so I just wanted to share a short story. I was amazed and I was proud of her and of the kind of response that came from what the leaders at UN told us, don't mention Jesus Christ. Well, she mentioned Jesus Christ, but she mentioned even more. It touched everybody there.
Mahalo,
And that's my story.
Thank you. I'm gonna segue and thank the panelists, yeah, and also the wonderful questions. So, you're probably asking, LT, Liliʻuokalani Trust, where can I get the book? Or is there going to be a book launch event in my community? Great questions. So besides distribution via UH Press, we have today Gail Makuakāne-Lundin and Meyer, who are here with us to answer those questions. And knowing these wahine, they'll probably answer questions you haven't even thought about yet, yeah? Now trying to manage them both within a space of 10 minutes is my challenge, yeah? So Gail and Maile, I believe that you're on. Can you make noise and...
Aloha.
Aloha. Oh my goodness, look at you. Look at you too. Gail, you never have to wear red for hilo, yeah?
It is.
Okay, go ahead, Gail or Maile.
Well, aloha mai kākou. First of all, I want to say, give my greetings to all of you. I feel very honored to be here today among such people that I've respected for many, many years. And this is really, for me, truly a wonderful occasion and a great opportunity for me to share a little bit about what I do and how we're related in terms of Nāna I Ke Kumu. So I work for the University of Hawaii system in a role that the university established in 2012, which is to indigenize the university system into a Hawaiian place of learning. And we are doing that through 3 themes: leadership development, community engagement, and Hawaiian language and culture parity. And so we have a group of representatives from each of the 10 campuses who advised me in my role as the director, as well as the president of the university, on what needs to get done across the University of Hawaii system. But the way how we got connected was, I've known Palama for a long time, and he asked if he could come to speak with Hawaii Papakiao last fall about this wonderful project of Nāna I Ke Kumu ʻEkolu. And we got extremely excited. We wanted to know how we could place our order for our books immediately. And then he suggested if we might think about how we could celebrate the book becoming available to the public. And so we, again, jumped on board and said, yes, we would all host something at each of our campuses. So we were going to ask all of you to come and visit all of our 10 campuses. But COVID happened, and unfortunately, that's not going to be possible. So we've had to come up with some other creative ways of how we can get the books out that we ordered. We ordered over 1,000. and how we can celebrate Nāna I Ke Kumu amongst our University of Hawaii community. So on October 19th, we will be launching a system-wide virtual Nāna I Ke Kumu celebration. And we're honored to have Aunty Lynette Paglinawan be part of that celebration. Her haumana from UH West Oahu will be part of that, as well as faculty, staff, administrators, and haumana from across our University of Hawaii campus. So we're really excited for that. I've already gotten, as this session was going on, I've gotten several emails from people asking me, how can I get the book in Hilo? So, so I'm physically in Hilo, so I've already addressed their requests. But we also have several faculty who are using it in their classes this semester. And my campus recently had a, somebody's asking me if they can order 10 books right now. I also had, we had a Hawaiian Leadership Student Conference here in Hilo, and all of the students have received the book. So we're really excited to be able to promote it amongst the University of Hawaii. So mahalo nui for this opportunity. And you know, I thought about, as I was going to school and as I've been doing my work at the university, what are some of the books that every student and every one of us who work at the university should have? So the Hawaiian Dictionary being one, Olelo no Eao being the other, and Nāna I Ke Kumu, Ikahi, Elua, and now ʻEkolu. So again, mahalo nui for being part of this wonderful opportunity and really a celebration.
Great. Great. So Gail, if folks are in Hawaii, contact Kauahi Community College. If they stay
Yes,
Hilo,
it's Kauahi.
contact...
You can come Hilo and Hawaii Community College. Maui has their books. So everybody at every campus across our whole Pai'aina.
Maikai, mahalo.
Mahalo.
Maile. Look, she gave me this beautiful Maile when I went to visit her this morning to pick up books. Yeah, so mahalo. And I shared with Auntie about, yeah, the yellow ginger representing Uncle Likeke and Auntie. So mahalo, Maile.
I'm trying really not to cry, because these books are, this is the book of our time. This is our time. This is clarity. So mahalo, Dennis, Val, Auntie Lynette, and Likeke, and everyone involved. Palama, invaluable. But the truth is, this is our time to be affirmed who we are. And it couldn't have come at a better time. So what Native Books in Hawaii are trying to do in terms of a specific idea around launching is to get people to just get one, read it and reread it and practice it and understand it, because there's so much content. There's so much content and it's so vital. And so little stores, little places, community will be able to access the book, whether it's basically books or Hawaiian Force on Moku o Keawe. We're trying to find, Mikiala's Ohana on Molokai. You can get it at Native Books. UH Press is a terrific partner with bookends and basically books and, mission houses, Iolani Palace. The point is, once our communities get a book, they need to read it, reread it, and share it and gather family. Because Auntie Lynette, through Nohona Hawaii, it's something that UH West has put out Manuahi. So I'm encouraging everyone to listen on Mondays, 9 to 11. Email my sister Manulani at hawaii.edu. So like Gail, hi Gail, Manu and Gail are, and Punihe, there's amazing Hawaiians in place in the UH system, both on the university side and the community side, putting out ʻIke from our kūpuna. But we cannot be lazy. Hawaiians are not lazy. This is our chance to just go deep And Auntie Lynette has made herself so available. So this Nohona Hawaiʻi is a place to start. This is a place to start. The people who have spoken, who are supported by, and it will always be the Queen Liliʻuokalani Trust to me. I just think about all the kūpuna who are with us, and getting the book will be easy. And once you get it, share it. So just know it will be in community through, and call us up at Native Books. You can obviously order online and do those kind of things. And we have a place called Kipuka, and we will start doing small gatherings of people who want time with each other, with their ohana, to understand where they can take this direction. So mahalo to everyone. You can see I started having my points, but this is the time. This is the book of our time. So mahalo kākou, and Palama, back to you.
Mahalo Gail, mahalo Maile. We're having a lot of questions, so I'll answer this. This is being recorded, and the recording will be uploaded on Liliʻuokalani Trust website within at least a week or two. Okay, so you can access it, you can share it with others, you can point them to where this lives. So I want to mahalo nui to Aunty Lynette Paglinawan, Uncle Likeke, I know you hear me, Uncle. Dennis Kauahi, Kalei Kanuha, and Imaikalani Kalahele for bringing forward this ʻIke and carrying the light. On behalf of Liliʻuokalani Trust, our Queen, our trustees, and our executives, we want to thank you all for joining the launch of Nānā I Ke Kumu, Helu ʻEkolu. And now Moon Kawakahi to close our time together.
Ai, mahalo nui au pupakahi no ko ʻike kūpuna, mahalo nui. No leila, pule ana kākou ka pule Hoʻokuʻu. Alia. Hai. Ke mahalo aku nei mākou ia'o e ke akua, ko mākou akua. A me Iesu ko mākou ho'ola. Me kauhani he mulele ko mākou kokua. Amene, amene, amene. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Moni. Thank you again, everyone. Aloha nui. Ahui ho.